Hello. I'm David McCard. This is Property Value. Let's talk some commercial real estate. Hello there, Ralph Pena.
What's going on?
Director, Colliers. Let me introduce you first, bro. And then you can say,
Everybody
hey,
knows
what's
who I
up,
am.
everyone? The world, millions and millions of viewers and listeners right now checking in on South Florida commercial real estate. Hey, Ralph Pena, how you doing?
Not bad, man. For what, Thursday?
It is
Thursday afternoon.
February 10th, 2022. Here we are, just a couple of guys in an office building talking real estate.
Go for it.
Well, we're going to start with some, let's cruise over here. Let's see what we got going on. I got an article from BizNow, says, from the butt end of real estate to the blinding bidding wars inside the staggering rise of industrial. When Rooney Daspach started working warehouses in 1986, finding tenants was a struggle. He would advertise teaser rates of 25 cents a square foot for the South Bay Los Angeles properties he was marketing, sending out rate cards illustrated with pictures of quarters to who tenant reps. He and colleagues would offer free rent, week-long vacations to Hawaii, even the occasional car. Now, we know that's not the instance anymore. In a market with 12% vacancy, he would even allow tenants to lease space month to month, letting them pay just enough to cover warehouse owners' operating expenses and pay their mortgage. How times have changed. BizNow spoke to brokers, developers, and executives across the country with decades of industrial real estate experience to get a sense of just how different the industry is today from when they first started working warehouses. It starts with the money piling into the sector. $160 billion was spent on industrial property in America's last year, a 55% increase over 2020. Globally, industrial has grown from 11% of the real estate investment market in 2016 to 22% in 2021. The nation's warehouse stock has grown by roughly 75% in the last 3 decades, with the average size of new warehouse roughly doubled that once built in the early 2000s. Last year, tenants leased 1 billion square foot, a record since the firm started tracking the sector. Since 1989, the national average asking rent has more than doubled. The least sexy mainstream commercial real estate asset class by a wide margin has become a booming sector that other real estate pros are fighting to enter. This was literally the butt end of real estate. 10 years ago, we used to go to continuing education events about the industrial real estate, and there were just a couple of people in the room. It was t-shirts and sweatpants, if anybody was there at all. Now it's packed with guys in Armani suits. I heard the guys in the industrial were the ones with the goatees, said Greg Healy, Executive Vice President, Head of Industrial Groups at Savals. They look a bit more rough around the edges. They don't have the savviness. They're really just clumsy finding properties, but that's totally different now. Look at the leaders from major companies. Tim Cook at Apple, Mary Barra from GM. They all come from supply chain positions. I'm going to cruise up. This is a pretty long article. Very interesting, but I'm going to say, whoa, look at that beautiful place on the river right there. In many ways, the market is becoming a victim of its own success. Now, new multi-story buildings and mega warehouses attract pushback from municipalities campaigning against road congestion and environmental costs of these buildings. Ryan Cabot now develops on-site with hair on them that require environmental remediation challenges or ones that was passed over years ago. Because the competition for space is relentless, the developer now waits until the last minute to sign a lease because every additional week can mean rising rent rates. That's very interesting because when I was just walking the industrial property last week, or today's Thursday? Oh, Monday.
Monday.
It's probably Monday or Tuesday this week, which is like 300,000 square feet of cold storage here in Hialeah. I was walking it and talking to the broker and asking him about where the market rate was. And I think my rent roll was somewhere around $9 triple net. And he told me that market should be at $14 triple net. And I was like, whoa, why isn't your rent roll, reflecting that? And he was just like, look, man, this is legacy tenants. And if this was going empty right now, we would easily get $14 triple net cold storage here in Miami. And it goes to just show you exactly like what the article just said, is that they're waiting to the last minute so they can get the biggest push. I mean, year over year, these are crazy. It says industrial real estate was the thing nobody thought about that had become something that people realize has been in front of their face and they didn't notice it yet. It's easily understood and it's everywhere. Man, I want to read that whole article. It seems like it's got a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah. I think it's pretty cool that back in the day, get a trip to Hawaii,
Dude,
get a car. It's crazy.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What do you mean? So here's another industrial article just to piggyback on that. Let you get in on that one. What's it saying?
This is from the South Florida Business Journal. Cost to develop lease industrial keeps soaring as demand for warehouses remain historically high, which ties into what we were just talking about.
Yeah, I mean, my article was more macro and backstory.
Right.
Here we
this
go with
is more
South Florida.
South Florida. It is now more expensive than ever to source, build, and rent warehouse space, but that hasn't tempered demand. The market had reached a point where industrial landlords are sometimes delaying signing pre-lease deals on speculative warehouses to ensure that they're getting the best, most up-to-date rental rate for the space possible. Other developers are putting more aggressive rent escalation clauses in new leases. Steve Cross of Southeast Regional Partner at Houston-based Transwestern Development Company, LLC Logistic Group, said the hard cost to build an industrial shell, not including site work, has increased 50% in the past 18 months. I repeat that, 50% in the past 18 months. That's crazy. What used to cost $38 a square to build in early 2021 now costs $45 to $50 a square foot. That is a cost that we are passing on to the tenant in the form of higher rent, Cross said. Unprecedented rental rate growth in all of our market is so far keeping the machine going. Most tenants are willing to absorb the higher cost, he said. For a typical logistics center, the biggest cost those companies have to bear in transportation, followed by labor. Real estate is generally only 10% of those tenants' tool costs, Cross said. Landlords are also putting higher rent escalation and lease terms, he said. What used to be 2.5% to 3% annual rent escalation, now closer to 4%. Both Cross and Lisa Denied, director of National Industrial Research for Newmark Group, said it's taking longer for industrial projects to get built, primarily because of the supply chain issue. That also makes it hard to predict when the final cost of project are going to be, as commodity prices have been so much volatile since the pandemic. Scroll down here to the bottom. If developers aren't able to commence the volume of project that they plan to do this year, that puts us in a position in 2024 that we're facing a supply crunch again. Newmark recently analyzed 23 markets and found the average length of time between spec warehouse delivery and being fully leased was less than a quarter in 2021. That's down from an average of 3.9 quarters, or about a year in 2015. Put that up there. See where Miami's at in that.
Yeah, but what does it say? It says Newmark recently. It says delivering warehouse has been fully leased was less than a quarter in 2021.
Yeah,
I don't know what that understand.
It's the.
Oh, that means that the turnover to lease the space. I was thinking development for some reason. Was so they were leasing stuff up in 3 months, which was in 2015. They were more like closer to 3.9
quarters. Yeah.
Wow. 1 quarter to 3. That's a year.
Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, Miami. Let's see. Space leasing up quickly. Looks like the top one is Interstate 8178 corridor. I don't know where that is.
Yeah. I don't know.
Houston is another top one. Miami-Dade. We're on the map. We're I don't know.
We're in the top 15.
I would say we're in the middle somewhere. Definitely Los Angeles having a rough time. Chicago, Atlanta, good ones. Interstate 8171, Dallas, Houston, Phoenix, Kansas City, Philadelphia, Miami. Oh, I see. These are the numbers right here.
Yep.
So that's when. So Miami is just about takes about 2.5 months for lease up.
In 3 of the largest industrial markets in the U.S., California Inland Empire, Dallas-Fort Worth, and northern New Jersey, the percentage of non-stabilized spec industrial properties was only 0.3% between 2015 and 2021. That really illustrates how, especially in the tightest markets, the speculative lease-up period is so remarkably slim, the Knight said. Cross said while he expects e-commerce demand to remain high through most economic condition, that only makes up a segment of the warehouse leasing market. Higher inflation and rising interest rate could more materially impact other uses of warehouse space, which may potentially take some wind off the tenant demand. But he continued, there is no evidence of that right now. Wow, I think the most interesting, what stood out for me in this is the escalation, the annual escalation. I mean,
4%.
Yeah, 4%.
From 2.5.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're talking that's a significant bump up every year. I mean, that's almost a retail level.
It's robust.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I read another article, not today, but in the past couple of weeks, that they said, industrial is the number 2 sector to be in right after multifamily.
It's insane. And obviously the e-commerce plays a big role in that, but it's interesting to see how what we had read before, the bud end is now the number 2 sector.
Yeah, the one that wasn't so sexy is getting a lot sexier. Yeah. Talk about a place that wasn't so sexy when you're following up Miami-Dade and then you're following up Broward. And I meant to say Fort Lauderdale. Now you come up with West Palm Beach. And we read before that it was the Wall Street of the South. But I mean, West Palm Beach just doesn't stay out of the headlines now. It says demand for condos. Put that one up on the board. Demand for condos, affordable housing rises as developers zero in on downtown West Palm. Plans for a Wynwood. I love how they always throw that Wynwood everywhere. Like redeveloped warehouse district and a UF campus cited on ULI conference. And there we go. The big eyesights that are looking at the West Palm Beach downtown. Development opportunities persist in downtown West Palm Beach as plans unfold for a Wynwood-style redevelopment of an urban warehouse district and University of Florida campus just north of Kravis Center for the Performing Arts. At the same time, the need is growing for housing, including condos and affordable rentals, as the city courts financial and tech firms to downtown office market. Here we go. This is the real deal South Florida real estate news, especially in the condominium market. There's more demand than supply, said Perez, president of Miami-based Related Group, who was a panelist this week at a conference presented by the West Palm Beach Downtown Development Authority and the Urban Land Institute. There's a huge imbalance between condo demand and supply, and he doesn't think that there's going to be a change in the next few years. Perez told the audience of more than 200 at the 2022 West Palm Beach Development and Investment Forum, "We are aggressively looking for development sites." He said residential developers have seen greater promise in West Palm Beach since the 2019 completion of the Bristow condominium, a 25-story, 69-unit waterfront development on South Flagler Drive, where some units have sold at 8-figure prices. There were no condominiums built for 10 years until the Bristol opened, Perez said. That's really changed people's mentality. The thing that that he's really drawn in West Palm Beach is that it's such a walkable downtown, said Andrew Dance, managing partner of Brand Atlantic Real Estate Partners, who spoke on the same panel as Perez. Clematis Street's a funny sidebar. Is Clematis Street is where I used to go to when I grew up, and we used to that was the closest place to go to bars, and the first bar I ever went to was called Respectables Cafe, and it was on Clematis Street. I think it's still there. Clematis Street in particular is the most walkable street in the country. That says in the country.
It should be county, I would say.
Yeah, that's a big statement right there. Dan said hedge funds, and this is what I thought you were going to say today on your call, but Dan said hedge funds and private equity funds are part of the commercial migration of investment firms to downtown West Palm Beach. As Miami is getting more of the tech firms, Palm Beach is scooping up those hedge funds.
Yeah.
From the Northeast and other parts of the nation. These firms tend to open branch offices with 40,000 square feet to 60,000 square feet rather than relocate their headquarters to West Palm. So that's a big footprint right there, 40 to 60,000 square feet. The city is trying to increase the downtown supply of affordable housing by allowing residential developers to reduce property taxes on their projects and to build taller, denser projects if they set aside some rent-controlled units for people earning less than the area's median income. Near the Brightline train station in downtown West Palm, for example, Miami-based group is developing a 20-story mixed-use development with 130 key Tribute Hotel, 180 residential units on floors 8 through 19 in a rooftop bar. The city agreed to reduce property taxes on the development because it's a residential component, includes 35 workforce housing units, said Diego. So there's 180 residential units, 35 of them are workforce. All right.
Get the tax credit.
But I'm just trying to see. There's 180 regular folk, and they're giving 35 to the people that can't pay the median.
Yeah, they have to do it to get the tax credits.
The workforce units are spread throughout the building, and everyone has access to the same amenities. West Palm Beach established a downtown master plan 25 years ago, initially to encourage more residential development downtown. That was when I used to go there 25 years ago. And now our big challenge is how to provide housing for everyone downtown. High land costs impede development of affordable housing, said panel member. And he cited a half-acre site the company analyzed. It was listed for $12 million. So it means an acre is going for $24 million. That definitely doesn't work for us, Larson said. Housing for working class is expected to be a major part of the pending redevelopment of Warehouse District in North Railroad Avenue area, or NORO, just north of downtown West Palm Beach. People, since Soho and
everybody throwing their own little
Miami-based place projects and West Palm Beach-based NDT development plan to develop a redevelopment 120,000 square foot industrial building and its surrounding in a style resembling Miami's artsy mural-filled Wynwood. The long-term mixed-use NORA project also would encompass retail and residential development. This project will create more affordable housing in the downtown than all the projects combined to date, said the panel member. Let's see what else is going on. The West Palm Beach City Commissioner voted Monday night to amend the city's downtown master plan to include the NORA district. Affordable housing also may be a part of the larger master plan to develop a satellite campus for University of Florida on a 2-block section of that. That's very cool. That's cool. I wonder how FIU feels about that in FAU. The city commission on Monday night took preliminary action to donate about 2.5 acres of surplus city land within a 12.5 acre site for a graduate studies campus. University of Florida is negotiating to acquire the other 10 acres. The future campus site just north of Kravis Center is bisected by Avernia Street and bordered by Datura Street of North, Fern Street of South, and Sapadilla Avenue on the end. Okay, well, great for pinpointing that. State funds totaling $100 million, as much as $100 million in gifts to UF, would fund the establishment of the Gainesville-based University satellite campus in West Palm Beach. Wonder what they're teaching there. My number one objective this year is to get this thing done, Fuchs said. The UF president also said $1 billion will work with the university IBM will work with the university to develop and teach curriculum centered on artificial intelligence at West Palm Beach campus. This is a once-in-a-century opportunity, said Mayor James. It's a game changer that will affect generations to come. That's very interesting because artificial intelligence, AI, is tech.
Yeah.
And if Mayor Suarez here in Miami is trying to get the tech guys here in Miami, it kind of seems like West Palm is doing a little pushback and trying to grab not only the hedge funds and all the financial guys from the Northeast, but a little bit of Silicon Valley as well.
What I found interesting is the UF. There's no FAU, FIU, UM. Even though UM's a private university, but
I'm more connected to FIU.
Yeah, but I find it interesting that you got UF coming down to put a campus down here for AI. It's a fantastic article. I find interesting everybody trying to find the next Wynwood, right? I've gone to
I don't know if they're trying to find the next Wynwood, but they're definitely trying to attach themselves to the already globally known name of Wynwood because of the graffiti that no one ever liked, and because of Art Basel.
There's a corridor in Fort Lauderdale that I've heard. I think it's off of Northeast 3rd. It's called the Next Wynwood in Fort Lauderdale. I've driven up and down there. Same thing.
Yeah,
Graffiti.
they've been saying that it's just north of the Flagler Park.
Yeah. And then you have now West Palm is trying to create their own Wynwood. I mean, look, as far as affordable housing concerned, I find interesting that they're tacking on 35 workhouse units just to get the tax credits, right? I mean, instead of just saying, affordable housing, okay. Now, it's just crazy how West Palm. I mean, you alluded to earlier, I was on a call, and the topic was office, right? And one of the assets we were talking about pre-pandemic was 60% vacant.
Mm-hmm.
I take it back. It was 60% occupied.
60% occupied. West Palm. What year was the building built?
I don't recall off the top of my head, but I do know this. It probably built in the late 2000s, give or take. Anyways, going back to this post-pandemic, within the past, I would say probably from April 2021 till today, they were averaging 2,000 square feet of absorption per month, which is pretty interesting. I mean,
super interesting. So how far did they get?
Right now, they're 80% occupied, and they expect to be close to 90% probably in the next couple of months. And this isn't even near the CBD. Mm-hmm. And it goes to show how much Palm Beach has grown. In fact, doing my research, I noticed
it's not about it growing though. It's about it having a lack of supply.
Well, it's lack of supply, but migrating there. Well, growing, I mean, it's the headlines. How many headlines have we read? Palm Beach, Palm Beach,
yeah,
Palm Beach.
But the growing is these firms like that said that either moving their hedge fund headquarters to Palm Beach or taking a big footprint for their southeast,
correct,
office, right? But it hasn't grown as in like space wise.
No,
that's why these older assets, 2000, that's 22 years old.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, they're getting some. I wonder how long the leases are that people are signing there.
That's a very good question. I mean, they divulged certain information, and that was not one of them. And what was interesting is the driving force. Because I asked, what's the driving force? What migration? Brightline. And then this was proximity to 95. But it was kind of
cool.
Well,
that's interesting because proximity to 95. Well, I don't know.
It's outside of the CBD. Yeah.
Well, I mean, when they're talking about downtown West Palm, that's off Okeechobee Boulevard over there, and that's not. It's kind of like here, like R95 is right there.
Yeah. But
same thing with that area as well.
Yeah, yeah. And the rents have gone up just globally within the submarket. Around 6% a year, 6% year over year, which was interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't touch multifamily, and I don't think it touches industrial.
No, this is strictly office.
As you talk office, why don't you read that big
Miami tops the nation for office rent growth. Miami office sector is improving with resurgent leasing volume, boosting owners' pricing power and giving rise to the nation's leading rent growth. The local office market is powered by a significant increase in office using job growth as total employment, as well as pre-pandemic levels in both the professional and business services, as well as the financial activity sectors. Specifically, expansion and relocation from new to market firms such as Microsoft, C1 Financial, Thoma Bravo will drive the Miami office market in the near term. Additionally, while most markets across the country are still dealing with the glut of sublet availability, the amount of sublet spaces in the market in Miami has trended lower over the past few quarters and is essentially in line with the greater Miami pre-pandemic norms. Encouraged by the recent increase in demand and rent growth, investors have been busy acquiring office assets. More importantly, office values are holding up. Miami outperformance will likely draw more investors in the market and lead to outside sales volume totals over the next few quarters. While the long-term impact of the pandemic on the national office sector remains unclear, Miami is well positioned to continue outperforming the national benchmark in terms of net absorption and rent growth in the near term, as long as recent leasing trend persists.
So let me take you back an instant when we were writing a report for the downtown market, and that reviewer said, "I don't see it through the same eyes as you, Dave." Let me reread this sentence here. While the
Tell us how you
long-term
feel.
impact of the pandemic on the national office sector remains unclear, Miami is well positioned to continue outperforming the national benchmark in terms of the net absorption, the net rent growth in the near term, and as long as recent leasing trends persist. And we just saw hedge funds are going to Palm Beach.
Yep.
Their office is booming. We're, Fort Lauderdale just keeps building. I mean, that's a beautiful city.
Yep.
It seems like, and there's room to grow in Fort Pierce. Like the sprawl, they have enough room. And then you have us here in Miami with Brickell looking good, downtown looking good. I mean, we're just building, and
I mean, just down the street, you got one of the top price per square foot leasing with Microsoft coming in on 830.
Well, I'm just glad you mentioned that. Let me see what I got here. Startup Grover to open U.S. headquarter in Miami's Brickell City Tower. That's across the street from the tower that you were actually referencing. Berlin-based Grover rental. Let me bring this up here like this. Berlin-based Grover, a rental platform for consumer goods, opening a United States headquarters. And guess what? They picked Miami to open their HQ.
There you go.
Which plans to hire not 5, 10, or 20, 100 people, the company announced. Founded in 2015, Grover is making the move after raising more than $1.3 billion in 2021, including a $1 billion raise in July, followed by $250 million in debt financing in November. Says Grover is taking space at Brickell City Tower, located 80 West 8th Street, where rents have ranged between 52 and 54 square feet and going up.
Yep, that's an older building too.
It's likely that the Grover will be located in a shared workspace environment or signed a sublease, as the company did not sign a lease with the agents marketing the tower. The startup worked. That's interesting, right? So that means that I feel like that means like they're going to look around the area and probably take a bigger footprint here in the near future.
Yeah.
The startup worked with Miami Mayor Francis Suarez and the mayor's Venture Miami team, which is working to raise the city's tech profile and making its decision to choose the city, according to Grover. We're excited about Miami because it's one of the few cities globally where the pace of the city and the government is parallel to the pace of the high-growth startups. Grover founder and CEO Michael Cazayoux said in a prepared statement, Grover allows users to rent all kinds of consumer electronics, such as smartphones, laptops, gaming consoles, and wearable devices through a subscription-based model. In Europe, Grover operates in Germany, Austria, the Netherlands, and Spain, and it has expanded its operations to the United States in September of last year, picking Miami to be its HQ.
Tech.
Man, it's just it's cool, man.
It is cool. It is seeing Miami evolve, man. It's pretty cool watching it. City that I grew up in. Just it's not what it used to be. It's great.
No, it's not what it used to be. And I think about like your friend who's been away for 10 years is going to start working with us. But then I hear my son in the back of my head saying, I want to, go to college and study computer science. And we had the long conversation about startups here in Miami and how Florida International Union is bridging a way for their students to work in startups. The mayor is trying to bring tech companies here. They're taking big footprints in office buildings. Our offices, it's awesome, man.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Let's do this time. Let's go back to work.
Go for it.
Everybody have a nice day.